Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us.
Always fun to be back.
Today we're going to learn about a woman who has an amazing story.
Yeah, and it's also a chance to learn some new English vocabulary along the way.
Perfect, yeah. So it's really a story of resilience and, how word choice can shape our outlook.
Yeah, it is. Think about it. Is it adversity or is it opportunity?
Right, or deformed or transformed.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
So we're going to be looking at how this woman uses language to really paint this new picture of her life after going through a lot of challenges.
yeah, she's a true artist and
Mm.
she's really a powerful advocate.
Absolutely.
So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
She grew up in a conservative family.
Uh-huh.
And when we say conservative,
Yeah.
we mean that her family had very traditional values and, a very structured social system.
Got it.
And she had an arranged marriage when she was just 18,
Oh, wow.
which is a huge part of that cultural context.
So it makes all of her later choices even more remarkable. Right, because coming from a family where obedience and societal expectations are everything,
Right.
her journey is this act of self-discovery and challenging those norms.
Totally.
Yeah.
So imagine her, in this new marriage, living within these really traditional expectations.
Yeah.
And then at just 21,
Oh my gosh.
her life takes a really dramatic turn.
What happened?
She's in a horrific car accident.
Oh no.
And, we're not talking minor injuries here.
Okay.
She had multiple fractures, including in her radius and ulna, which are the bones in your forearm.
Yeah.
Her wrist, her shoulder, even her rib cage
Wow.
was fractured. And the impact was so severe that it actually damaged her lungs and her liver,
Oh God.
which obviously, affects your ability to breathe.
Of course.
So you can imagine the pain.
Yeah.
It's hard to even fathom.
It really is.
And on top of the physical trauma,
Yeah.
the accident also resulted in a spinal cord injury.
Oh.
And the spinal cord is like the central communication highway of your body, sending those signals between your brain and everything else.
I see.
Sadly, she had 3 vertebrae, which are the bones that make up your spine,
Right.
completely crushed, which led to paralysis.
Wow.
So basically, she lost the ability to walk.
That's awful.
And to make matters even worse, this accident happened in a very remote area with limited access to medical care.
Oh, no. Can you imagine?
So no immediate first aid, no hospital nearby,
Oh, my God.
no ambulance to quickly get her to safety.
And she was just stranded.
Yeah, basically straight in the middle of nowhere inside of this wrecked car.
That's terrifying.
It's a miracle that she even survived.
It really is.
And eventually people did come to help. But without an ambulance, they had to transport her in the back of like a 4-wheeler Jeep.
Oh, my goodness.
So a bumpy 3-hour ride with a shattered body.
Oh, I can't even imagine the pain.
I know. And it was actually during this journey that her spinal cord was completely severed, solidifying the permanence of her paralysis.
Oh, wow. So that must have been so much to process on top of everything else.
Yeah, I can only imagine the emotional turmoil
Yeah.
on top of the physical pain.
Of course.
To be so young and suddenly facing this drastically different future.
So she eventually made it to a hospital.
Yeah, finally.
Okay.
She underwent multiple surgeries over 2.5 grueling months.
Gosh.
Doctors inserted titanium rods and plates to stabilize her fractured bones.
Wow. They really had to rebuild her.
Yeah, and this actually earned her the nickname the Iron Lady in Pakistan.
Oh, wow. That's a powerful nickname.
Right.
So the titanium is interesting because it not only speaks to the severity of her injuries,
Right.
but it also kind of becomes this symbol for her own inner strength.
Totally. Like titanium, she was unbreakable.
Exactly.
But even though she was physically strong, those months in the hospital were filled with despair.
Oh, I bet.
Doctors kept delivering really bad news.
Like what?
One told her she wouldn't be able to paint again,
Oh, no.
which was her passion. Another one told her she'd never walk again.
That's awful.
And maybe the most devastating news was that she wouldn't be able to have children.
Oh, gosh. So that must have just chipped away at her sense of self and her hopes for the future.
Totally. It's a stark reminder of how fragile life can be
Yeah.
and how quickly things that we take for granted can just change in an instant.
I mean, it's just so much to process.
It really is. And it was in that moment of utter despair that she turned to her mother and said, "Why me?"
Oh, wow. That question, why me?
Yeah,
It's just this natural human response when you're facing unimaginable hardship.
right. We search for meaning
Yeah.
when faced with life's randomness and unfairness.
You might want to understand why this is happening to us.
Yeah, and her mother in this incredible display of strength, replied with words that became her lifeline.
What did she say?
"This too shall pass."
Wow, what a simple phrase.
So no,
So profound.
it's not about denying the pain or the suffering.
Right.
It's an acknowledgement that life is in constant flux,
Yeah.
that even the darkest nights eventually give way to dawn.
It's so powerful.
And even in that stark hospital room, surrounded by white walls and medical equipment, she found a way to bring color back into her life.
How?
She asked for paint and a canvas and rediscovered art as a form of therapy.
And we're not talking about art as just a casual hobby.
Well,
This is art
art
therapy,
therapy, right.
which is a powerful tool for healing.
Exactly. It allows you to process your emotions, to communicate what you can't put into words, and find a sense of control when everything just feels so overwhelming.
It's amazing how she was able to express herself.
Right. And while others saw, these beautiful colors and imagery in her art, she was pouring her grief and pain into each brushstroke
Oh, wow.
and finding comfort in that creative process.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it speaks to the transformative power of art.
It really does, finding beauty and solace even in the midst of suffering.
After 2.5 months, she was discharged from the hospital, but her journey was far from over. Pressure ulcers and infections meant she was bedridden for another 2 years.
Oh, gosh. Can you imagine being confined to bed for that long, unable to experience the world outside?
And the term bedridden doesn't fully capture that psychological impact.
Right.
Think about the forced stillness, the limitations, the feeling of being trapped while your mind is racing.
Yeah, it's a test of patience, unlike any other.
It really is. And during those 2 years, she realized how much she had taken for granted.
Like what?
The simple things, the sun on her skin, walk in the park, sharing a meal with her family.
Oh, wow.
It was a really painful realization,
Yeah.
but also a catalyst for a profound shift in her perspective.
So it's often in those moments of loss and limitation that we truly appreciate what we have.
Right.
And that period of introspection, of being forced to slow down and reflect,
Yes.
became a turning point for her. It led her toward acceptance and a renewed sense of purpose.
She made a conscious choice to embrace her new reality.
I love that.
Instead of waiting for a miracle to make her walk again, she chose to focus on what she could control.
Right.
Her attitude, her outlook on life.
Such an important distinction.
Yeah, and this shift toward acceptance is a crucial part of her story.
Yeah.
It wasn't about giving up.
Right.
It was about taking ownership of her situation and making the best of it.
I love that.
And this idea that acceptance can be an empowering act, not a passive one,
Right.
is such a powerful message for all of us.
It really is.
And you know what? She marked this decision with a simple yet profound act:
What was that?
applying lipstick.
Wow.
Not for anyone else, but for herself.
So we're starting to see a real shift in her story. That
Yeah.
lipstick wasn't just makeup. It was like a declaration of self-love, a commitment to find joy in the midst of challenges and to live life on her own terms.
That's such a beautiful image.
It is, and that's where we'll pick up in part 2 of this deep dive.
Stay tuned, because we're just getting started with the incredible things this woman achieved and the powerful lessons that she has to teach us all. Welcome back. I'm so curious to hear what happened next after that moment with the lipstick.
Me too. It's really a turning point in her story.
So what happened next?
Well, from there, she starts confronting her fears head on.
Okay.
And she starts with the big one, divorce.
Wow. So she came from a very conservative background where divorce is a big taboo.
Exactly. And to make that decision in a culture where it's not really accepted takes so much courage.
Yeah, it's hard enough to go through a divorce under any circumstances, but to do it when society's kind of telling you shouldn't.
Right. It's a testament to her commitment to living authentically, even if it meant going against those societal expectations.
It's like she's saying, I'm not going to stay in a marriage that's not serving either of us.
Exactly. It was about finding freedom for both of them.
And here's what I found really amazing. When she found out that her ex-husband was remarrying, she sent him a message saying how happy she was for him.
Wow. So instead of holding on to resentment or bitterness, she chose compassion.
Yeah, it's really about choosing happiness for others, and I think that ultimately liberated her own heart.
It's about letting go of that negativity.
Right? Because it can really weigh us down.
It really can.
And her journey of confronting fears didn't stop there. Remember, she was told that she wouldn't be able to have children.
Oh, right. That must have been so difficult, especially given the pressure that women face to become mothers.
It's like so much of her identity was being defined by what she couldn't do.
Yeah, and instead of giving in to that despair, she chose to explore adoption,
I love that.
which is really this beautiful act of creating family through choice and love, not just biology.
Right, it's about building that family in a different way.
Exactly.
So she registered with several adoption organizations, and waited patiently for 2 years.
Wow, that's a long time.
And then one day, she got a life-changing phone call.
Oh, what happened?
They told her that a baby boy was available for adoption, and they asked if she was interested.
And what did she say?
She said yes, immediately. Without any hesitation, she said it was like she was experiencing labor pains.
Wow, that's such a powerful image.
Right. It really highlights that deep emotional connection she felt to this child even before she met him.
It's like her heart already knew he was meant to be her son.
I love that. And when she went to the adoption agency, she met with an official who seemed really hesitant.
Oh, that must have been nerve-wracking.
She could really sense his judgment,
Yeah.
probably stemming from the fact that she used a wheelchair.
Yeah, unfortunately, people with disabilities face these kinds of biases all the time, especially when it comes to parenting.
Sadly, it's true. And she was prepared for rejection, but this official really surprised her.
Oh, how so?
He looked past her wheelchair. He saw her capacity for love.
That's so beautiful.
And he told her that she and the baby were lucky to have found each other.
That's amazing. So it's a reminder that true compassion sees beyond outward appearances.
It really is. And just like that, at 2 days old, this beautiful baby boy named Neil became her son.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah. And Neil's presence brought new challenges, of course.
Of course.
But also these profound lessons about patience, adaptability, and finding joy in unexpected places.
I bet he was a constant reminder of her own strength and resilience.
He really was. And one really powerful lesson that Niall taught her was about finding alternative paths to happiness.
Oh, I love that. Tell me more.
So Neil loved football. And when he got his first ball, he asked his mom to play with him.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I know, but she felt this twinge of sadness because she realized she couldn't physically kick the ball.
Right, she couldn't participate in the way that she would have wanted to.
Exactly. And, it's easy to forget that even with her incredibly positive outlook, she still had those moments of longing for the things she could no longer do.
Yeah, it makes her even more relatable.
Totally. But Niall, being a kid, just had this completely different perspective.
What did he say?
He said, "That's all right. Your legs are not working, but your hands do. Let's play catch."
Oh, that's so cute.
Isn't it?
Yeah, it's like sometimes children have this amazing ability to cut through those complexities and just offer simple yet brilliant solutions.
Absolutely. And it was a pivotal moment in their relationship because Neil helped her to see that limitations don't have to define us. They can inspire us to be creative and find new ways to experience joy.
I love that. And so that spirit of embracing challenges and finding alternative paths kind of led her to confront another major fear.
What was it?
Public appearances.
So after the accident, she'd become very reluctant to go out in public because of the way people reacted to her.
Yeah, I bet it was really overwhelming to constantly encounter pity and those kinds of looks.
She even pretended to be asleep when visitors would come to her house.
Oh my gosh, it's like she was trying to protect herself from that emotional burden.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It was just too much to bear.
It's so understandable.
And, I think it's something that a lot of people who've experienced trauma or loss can relate to.
Absolutely. It's that feeling of wanting to hide from the world.
But she eventually realized that by hiding from the world, she was actually perpetuating those very stereotypes.
Right, it's like she was giving in to that idea that she was somehow less than because of her disability.
And so instead of shrinking back, she decided to step into the spotlight.
Wow, what a courageous decision.
She understood that visibility is power. And by being seen, by sharing her story authentically, she could challenge those preconceived notions.
Right, she could show the world that she was a multifaceted, capable woman.
Yeah, and her disability was just one aspect of who she was, not the defining factor.
So it's about owning your narrative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it makes me think about how we all have those moments when we might feel like hiding, whether it's because of insecurity or fear of judgment.
Definitely a universal human experience.
But her story reminds us that by choosing to be visible, by embracing our authentic selves, we can challenge those fears and actually make a real difference.
It's so powerful.
So how did she go about this? Did she start a foundation or support group for people with disabilities?
She actually did something even more impactful. I think she joined Pakistan's national television as an anchor person.
Wait a minute, a TV anchor?
Yeah.
That's a role that traditionally puts so much emphasis on physical appearance.
Right.
And conventional beauty standards, and she was doing this while using a wheelchair.
Exactly. It was a bold and deliberate challenge to those norms and expectations.
It's amazing she really broke down those barriers.
She wanted to demonstrate that people with disabilities can excel in any field, even those typically associated with, physical perfection.
Right.
And her presence on screen really sparked conversations.
Wow.
It challenged stereotypes and it inspired countless viewers.
Because people saw Her talent,
Yeah.
her intelligence, her charisma, and her disability became just one part of who she was,
Exactly.
not the defining factor.
Right. And her impact extended beyond the TV screen. She became a sought-after speaker,
Really?
sharing her story on international platforms, advocating for women's rights, children's welfare, and disability inclusion.
Oh, wow. So she really used her voice to raise awareness, challenge prejudices, and inspire action on a global scale.
Absolutely. It's the power of storytelling. When we share our experiences authentically, we create connection, we build empathy, and we inspire change.
And remember her love for art. That continued to be a major part of her life. She became Pakistan's first wheelchair-bound artist,
Wow.
holding exhibitions to showcase her vibrant paintings and, again, challenge those notions of what an artist should look like.
I love that she didn't give up on her passion.
It's a reminder that we can find strength and healing through the things we love to do.
And she didn't stop there.
No, what else did she do?
She took on modeling campaigns for major brands.
Modeling campaigns, that's amazing.
Yeah, and she used humor and her unique perspective to really redefine beauty standards.
Oh, wow. Tell me more about these campaigns. What was the message she was trying to convey?
They were really clever,
Okay.
playful, thought-provoking, and ultimately they were about challenging those societal norms and celebrating diversity.
I love that.
Yeah, and one campaign in particular called Clown Town is a perfect example.
Clowntail, what was that all about?
So she posed as a clown with all the colorful makeup and the whimsical attire,
Okay.
and it was just this really powerful way to challenge the idea of what's considered normal or beautiful.
Oh, I love that. It's like she was saying, we're all a little bit clownish in our own unique ways, so why not embrace it?
Exactly. She turned those expectations on their head and invited people to question their own biases and to embrace the beauty in imperfection.
It's so brilliant.
It really was, and it really resonated with people.
Yeah.
It sparked conversations, it challenged stereotypes, and ultimately it broadened the definition of beauty.
She's a master of turning challenges into opportunities for positive change.
That's a great way to put it, and her efforts were recognized on a global scale. She became a UN Goodwill Ambassador for Pakistan,
Wow.
championing women's rights and inclusion.
What an incredible honor.
It really is, and it speaks volumes about the impact of her work and the power of her message.
Absolutely. And her achievements didn't stop there. She was featured in the BBC's 100 Women,
Oh, wow.
which is a list that celebrates inspiring and influential women from all over the world.
That's amazing.
And if that wasn't enough, she was also named one of Forbes 30 Under 30,
Wow.
recognizing her achievements as a young leader and a change maker.
That's so impressive.
I know.
It's clear that she used her platform to advocate for others and inspire a more inclusive and compassionate world.
And despite all these accomplishments, she remained so grounded. She always emphasized that her success wasn't a solo effort. Remember her message of we, not me?
Yes, that's right.
She always acknowledged the importance of community, her support system, and all the people who believed in her, even when she doubted herself.
It's a good reminder that none of us achieve anything alone. We all need those cheerleaders, those mentors, those people who lift us up and help us reach our full potential.
So true. And, she actually mentioned 3 individuals who were particularly influential in her life.
Oh, who were they?
Well, we've already talked about young Waleed Khan and the incredible lesson of resilience that she learned from him,
Right.
and also the profound lessons about adaptability and perspective that she learned from her son, Noel.
It's amazing how both Waleed and Niall demonstrated such strength and a refusal to let their challenges define them.
Absolutely. And then, of course, there's her mother.
Right.
That constant source of love and support who taught her the power of positive thinking and never giving up.
Her mother's influence is really woven throughout her entire story. Those words, "this too shall pass," became a guiding principle in her life, a reminder that hope and brighter days are always ahead.
It's so beautiful, and it's a reminder that we can find strength and inspiration in the most unexpected places. And often, it's the love and support of those closest to us that helps us get through life's toughest challenges. All right, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive. And I gotta say, I'm feeling so inspired by this woman's story.
Me too. She really embodies resilience.
Yeah, but I'm also curious, how did she cultivate such a positive outlook after everything she went through? What helped her shift from despair to a life filled with so much purpose and joy?
Well, one of her most powerful messages is about embracing imperfection.
Okay.
You know how society, especially for women, sets these unrealistic standards of perfection?
Oh, yeah. Totally. It's like we're constantly bombarded with images of ideal bodies, perfect lives, flawless everything.
It's exhausting and it's impossible to live up to.
Right. And she realized that chasing this illusion of perfection was actually robbing her of the joy of just being herself.
It's so true. She decided to challenge those norms instead of trying to fit into some predefined mold.
Like with the modeling campaigns that we talked about, especially that Clown Town one.
Exactly. By embracing the clown persona, she turned the idea of conventional beauty upside down.
It was so clever.
It really was. And that theme runs through her entire philosophy.
I see.
She says true happiness lies in accepting ourselves for who we are, imperfections and all.
Yeah. And I think a lot of us struggle with that.
Me too.
It's like we're often our own harshest critics, you know?
We need to learn to treat ourselves with the same compassion that we offer to others.
Exactly.
And this ties into another key aspect of her philosophy, gratitude.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
When we focus on what we lack, we just end up feeling unhappy, but when we cultivate a sense of gratitude for what we do have, even the small things, it changes everything.
It's like that saying, it's not happy people who are grateful, it's grateful people who are happy.
Exactly. And she's not saying we should deny challenges or pretend everything's perfect. It's about recognizing the good amidst the difficulties, finding those silver linings.
Right, it's about appreciating the little things.
And she talks about her breath as a blessing, something we often take for granted. She encourages us to savor each breath, to celebrate life in all its messy, imperfect glory.
I love that. And you know what I find really inspiring is that her message goes even deeper than that.
Oh, tell me more.
She talks about how true happiness comes from finding meaning and purpose beyond ourselves.
Yeah.
It's about helping others, making a positive impact on the world around us.
It gives our lives a sense of purpose. It's not just about our own happiness. It's about making a difference.
Exactly. And, she really demonstrates this through her own actions, advocating for those who are often marginalized, using her platform to amplify their voices.
She's truly an inspiration.
Yeah, she's proof that we all have the power to create positive change even when facing adversity.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, we've learned about the power of resilience, the importance of self-acceptance, the transformative potential of gratitude, and the profound impact of helping others.
It's a lot to take in, but each piece is so valuable.
It's a reminder that even when life throws us those curveballs, there's always hope, there's always a reason to keep going, and there's always an opportunity to find meaning and purpose.
And, I think the biggest takeaway is that strength and happiness aren't about being perfect or having it all figured out.
Right.
It's about embracing our imperfections, finding joy in the midst of challenges, and making a positive impact on the world.
So well said.
I want to leave our listeners with a few questions to think about.
Okay.
How can you apply these lessons to your own life? What fears can you confront? What small act of kindness can you offer today? And how can you cultivate a sense of gratitude for the blessings in your life, no matter how small they may seem?
Those are powerful questions, and I think this woman's story really encourages us to embrace those imperfections that make us beautifully human, to find strength in those unexpected places, and to never, ever give up on the pursuit of happiness and purpose.
It's been such a privilege exploring her story with you.
Likewise, it's a beautiful reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's always a light within us waiting to be kindled. And sometimes all it takes is a spark of inspiration to set that light ablaze and illuminate the world around us.
Beautifully said.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll be back soon with another inspiring story and more vocabulary to expand your English skills.